Good day, I am Chartered, your accounting tutor. In today's video, we are going to continue under the topic cash book, books of original entry. And before we go to cash book, I want to clarify much on an entry called the contra entry, which most learners find it difficult to understand how to post it in the ledger. What is a contra entry? A contra entry is a double entry that is found under one account called the cash book, which have debit and credit side. And both debit and credit side, the transaction are recorded both in the debit and credit side of the cash book, where cash is involved and bank is also involved. While one account is giving, another one is receiving, either cash or bank. And that is why it's called a contra entry, because the two accounts, cash is a separate account, bank is a separate account, which are under one account called the cash book. So the entry involves these two accounts, which are in one place, and that is why it's called a contra entry. And I want to give two illustrations that explain the contra entry. A contra entry have only two areas, whereby one account is giving and the other account is what? Receiving. And either cash gives or bank give, or bank receive or cash receive. And that's why it's called a contra entry. Let's look at the two transactions quickly as I explain how contra entry is recorded using the card, especially the tricolor card, which I promised to be treating. We now say took cash of 50,000 from the business and deposit into the bank. Took cash 50,000 from the business and deposit into the bank. Mind you, I told you that the contra entry is an entry that involves cash and bank under one account called the cash book. So one account must be giving and another one must be receiving, as you can see in this illustration and in this diagram here. You can see it's either cash give to bank or bank give to cash. So as cash is given to bank, bank will receive. As bank is given to cash, cash will receive. So here too, we want to know if we now take money from the business to deposit into bank, which account is giving and which account is receiving. Here we say that if we take cash from the business to deposit into bank, cash becomes the giver. That's the business give cash, and then in this case, bank is receiving the cash. So in this case, cash will be credited as the giver account, while bank will be debited as the receiver account. Let's see how we record it quickly in the three-column cash book. Here we are saying, always start with the giver. The credit side is the giver account. The whole of this side is the giver account. This is the giver account. The giver account. While the debit side is the receiver account. The receiver account. Mind you, always start with the giver, because the giver must give before the receiver will receive. So in this here, we now say the business gives cash to the bank. So cash is the giver now. They now come here and put the date on 5th of March 26, the giver, which is cash, look at the cash here. The emphasis is on cash. The giver now behave as if bank is in suspense. Behave as if bank is in suspense. You're only looking at cash in the giver side. You now say on this date, which is 5th of March, the giver, which is the cash account, is giving to bank. And then the folio becomes C. Under folio you put C. Though C is not folio, but you just put it under folio. Then we are now saying the giver, which is cash, is given to bank, and the amount is 50,000. It's 50,000. As you can see, the giver cash is given to bank 50,000, and C represent what is called contra entry. If you like that, strike it like this, it's still the same thing, or you can leave it as C, it's still understood as standing for contra entry. The noun that the giver give, the receiver must receive. The receiver is back and still in one account, and that's why it's called contra entry. Then you now come to the receiver side on what date? On 5th of March 26. Now the receiver. The receiver is now back. Here, behave as if cash is completely in suspense. Like in this side where emphasis was on cash, we have nothing to do with bank. Here, emphasis is on bank, we have nothing to do with cash. Now say the receiver, which is bank, is receiving from cash. And then it's receiving from cash, and here you will see standing for contra entry. Now that it is bank, there's an emphasis, you have and money is going out. Here the receiver is bank receiving from cash. The money is going to settle into the bank at how much? 50,000. And that is why we say it's a contra entry, because this is a single entry of depositing money to the bank, and it's recorded in the credit side under the giver, which is cash, and it's recorded also in the debit side under the receiver, which is bank, and that is why it's called a contra entry. That's why the second one. Here we now say we drew cash of 30,000 from the bank for business use. Here we are saying that also identify the giver and the receiver. Here it is not cash that is given, rather bank is giving, because the business is withdrawing money from the bank for business use. I want to emphasize, if money is taken from the bank for business use, it's a contra entry. Here the purpose of taking cash to the bank is not mentioned. But if money is taken out of bank to pay rent or to pay electricity or for any specific purpose that is mentioned, it is not contra entry. It is only when money is taken from the bank and the purpose is not mentioned, it's just the office use or general business which are used for anything, that is when it's contra entry. Mind you, most lenders are confused. We say we drew money from the bank to pay electricity, to pay rent. It is not the contra entry. When the item or the purpose is mentioned, it is never contra entry. It's only contra entry when the money is taken from the bank and the purpose is not mentioned. It's just for office use or general use. That is when it's contra entry. Take note. Let's continue. Here the giver account is bank. Bank is giving, and the receiver account is what? Cash. Mind you, you must start with the giver account. Here, cash for the giver account, but now it is bank at the giver account. Mind you, anytime you come to the giver account, hold the other account constant or make suspend it. So don't think that cash is a suspend, we're dealing with the giver, which is bank. Now say bank on this date, which is on the 9th of 3rd, 26, bank is giving to cash. It's giving to cash. And this is C, which is standing for contra entry. Mind you, we have suspend cash, but cash is not the giver. The giver now is bank. Now say bank is giving to cash, meaning the money is going out of bank account. How much is that? 30,000 naira. Now that you finish with the giver, mind you come to the debit side, which is the receiver account. And the receiver account now become cash. Then here we're keeping bank in suspend. Thinking that there's nothing like bank, so that you concentrate on the receiver, which is cash. You now say on this date, which is 9th of 3rd, 26, the receiver, which is cash, is receiving from bank. And this is a contra entry. It's a contra entry. Receiving from bank, and how much is that? 30,000 naira, as you can see. So here, we are saying this is contra entry, where one account is being debited and the other is being credited in the same account called the cash book. Here, too, I want to emphasize that if you are depositing money into the bank and it's not for a given purpose, then it is a contra entry. That is what it is clear that cash deposited into the bank. It's not cash deposited into the bank to pay an issue. It's not a contra entry. It's only cash that is deposited in the bank for safety, which can be taken anytime for use. That is when it's contra entry. But if you now say cash deposit to bank to pay salary, then it is not contra entry. That we're using money in the bank to pay salary. We're depositing money to pay salary, then it means bank is paying salary. It's only when you are depositing money to the bank and the purpose is not mentioned, but it's just for safety to be used anytime, that is a contra entry. Don't know, because that's a confusion most lenders have. Let's go to the next thing. In the three column calculator, I want to clarify before we start solving the full question, what is called folio? What is folio? Most lenders don't understand how to use folio. Most lenders don't understand how to use folio. Folio is very simple. Folio is an entry. Folio is not an entry, but it's a guide. A guide is a serial order. How ledger accounts are used. How ledger accounts are used. Principally, we have three groups of ledger. We have the sales ledger account, the purchases ledger account, and the general ledger account. So folio serves as a guide to link the books of original entry and the ledger, which account should be taken from the book and where it should be taken to the ledger. Because Books of original entry are books into which transactions are recorded first before transferring the ledger. So folio serves as an order, a serial order to link the book of original entry to the ledger. That is what is called folio. Let's look at the type of folio. We have three types of folio. Basically, we have what is called a sales ledger, which is referred to as SL, and then trade receivables account. It means accounts that are recorded in sales ledger are only accounts that relate to goods that are sold on credit to customers. Goods that are sold on credit to customers are under SL. That is, all trade receivables, all debtors are under sales ledger. That is debtors. And then all other transactions that link with the debtors. If you are receiving money from debtors, you use SL. If you are returning goods or debtors return goods to the business, you use SL. If there's return inward, you use SL. That is all transactions that link between the customers to the business on credit. That is when SL comes in place. The next one is purchases ledger, which is referred to as PL. Here too, we are talking PL meaning purchases ledger, which is also referred to trade payables account. These are accounts of creditors. These are accounts of suppliers. That is the people that the business bought goods from them on credit. All those groups of accounts that form the creditors or trade payables, that is where folio is used. So in this case, folio for PL is used in such situation if there's any payment to suppliers, if there's any return outward and the likes. That is where you use purchases ledger. And the last one is general ledger. This simply means these are ledger that are outside sales ledger and purchase ledger. If you can get my explanation clear, it is clear that any account that does not fall under the sales ledger, which is sale of goods on credit and the related transaction, and that of purchase ledger, all other ledgers are grouped under what is called the general ledger. So this is the type of folio we come. So when we come to Entry CASHBOOK, I will place in the transaction. I'll be explaining how the different folios will be used in accounting. Don't forget to watch my video, like and comment. If you have any issue, ask any question in the comment section. I'll come back and address it and give more light on it. I remain Chata, your accounting tutor.